Alrighty everyone, welcome back. It is now October 13th of 2025, and ever since the assassination of Charlie Kirk on September 10th, over a month ago at this point, it's crazy how fast time just flew by, but ever since then we have had a ton of celebrities, either actors, writers, directors, producers, comedians, doesn't matter, across the entire board of both the film industry and the music industry, saying downright offensive things about Charlie Kirk, his supporters, his loved ones, even about Erica Kirk, and the list goes on and on. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new, and like this video to see future updates. You could also follow me at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. Now, one thing about Robert De Niro is that we know that he is going on a constant anti-Trump messaging campaign and dragging Charlie Kirk and Charlie Kirk supporters into the middle of it all. This all comes just before his No Kings protest on October 18th. To actually continue saying such crazy things. Now, we know one thing about Robert De Niro, Tom Hanks, George Clooney, and so many others out there is that they will never stop when it comes to the anti-Trump rhetoric and really just saying such vile things to the general public, to the point where it's really becoming quite exhausting to see so many actors saying the same parroted nonsense. However, looking at Robert De Niro, this is where it really begins to hit rock bottom, because you think that he would learn a thing or two and would back down and stay silent for a while if he wants to actually save whatever's left of his image, but no, he continues to actually double down on the anti-Trump rhetoric and also drags Charlie Kirk into the middle of it all and even goes after Charlie Kirk supporters. Let's get into this. Now, one thing about Robert De Niro is that we all know that he's a very unhinged individual, and he really has no sense of reality or no sense of how many fans he's losing. However, ever since the assassination of Charlie Kirk on September 10th, a wide range of celebrities, both in the film and music industry, decided to politicize the entire situation. One major development going on now involves more to do with actor Robert De Niro, who decided to go off at Charlie Kirk supporters and also made a mockery of Charlie Kirk himself in the worst way one could imagine. De Niro delivered the following. Take a hard look at what has happened to our country under Trump, who believes he is a president but is really just a dictator. The sad truth behind all of this now is that those that support Trump, unfortunately, are the very same supporters that Charlie Kirk and his views, which were obviously so far right-wing nonsense views that contributed nothing to our country. And though the man didn't deserve to be killed, and it's something I will never wish upon anybody, it's those like President Trump, Charlie Kirk, and their supporters that have only put us in a hellish state for our country that was once a beloved place over 9 months ago under President Biden. A fine president who wasn't a liar and who knew what he was doing. I am asking everyone to join me for the No Kings protest on October 18th to call out the lies coming from Trump and those that supported Kirk's views. You know, the thing that breaks my spirit is that it's both Trump and Kirk supporters that are using the man's death to blame the left and liberals and progressives on why what happened on that day of September 10th. And that to me is a sickness, a pure sickness, to have a man like President Trump using a man's assassination to validate his policies and to say, see, I told you so. What kind of man does such a sickening thing like that? That's President Trump. And this goes for Kirk supporters too, who have only made living in America harder and more difficult for the average hardworking American citizen. It's time that we all take the time to come together to call out the insanity coming from these people that all they do is lie to the world. All they do is lie to everyone. Just because Charlie Kirk passed, this should never ever give any politician a free pass to double down on a right-wing agenda. This is why the No Kings protest is important to the country and why it should exist. We all have to come together to be loud and clear that we will not stand for this, and we will not back down. Trump and his moron followers that so happen to also follow Mr. Kirk's views are damaging our country. Now guys, let me just stop right there for 1 second about Robert De Niro. Now, the fact that he has to drag Charlie Kirk and Charlie Kirk supporters into his anti-Trump messaging, it goes to show you exactly what kind of mean spirit Robert De Niro really is. He really does have no sense that he is very much offending a lot of his own fans who happen to be supporters of Charlie Kirk that are now walking away in droves that never want to support Robert De Niro's work ever again. And look, I would not doubt that his upcoming film next year in 2026, and he is working on this right now with Ben Stiller on and off, it's called Fokker-in-law. It's Meet the Fockers 4, or Meet the Parents 4, whatever you want to call it. The fourth film in that, series of films. Now, it's up to us, he says, to change the course for them in terms to take back our country, because the longer they get away with this, the more our country will sink. Trump is a sick, twisted man. Now, again, let me just stop there. It's one thing for Robert De Niro to call Trump a sick, twisted man. I think when you look at Robert De Niro, that's exactly who he is, because he's literally using his platform as an actor and those that follow him to serve as a political commentator. And this is exactly why Ricky Gervais, a great comedian by the way, told all of these celebrities, told all of these actors to stay in their lane and to literally just stick to what they do, is to act and deliver their lines and call it a day and don't go into politics. People are just tired of all of that. And it's people like Robert De Niro, Tom Hanks, and George Clooney and more that will never ever learn from their mistakes, regardless of losing millions upon millions of fans, regardless of losing so many of their core loyal fans that have supported their work for decades. They just want to keep going on that anti-Trump messaging campaign to the point that people are just checking out now. They're not supporting their work anymore. And that's exactly why Robert De Niro also, I think, is getting bitter, because he knows his messaging isn't working. It's only driving away people to a degree. Now, of course, when you're looking at someone like Robert De Niro, he's going to continue to do this. Now, he continues on, of course, going about all of this. He goes, "Who lies for a living, and Mr. Kirk supporters are too dumb to see it." That's the problem with our citizens right now, is that they are so uneducated to the point where they can't lift a finger to research what is going on with President Trump. And again, Robert De Niro dragging Charlie Kirk supporters in there, saying that they're too dumb to realize specific things. Look, a lot of these actors really never showed any empathy about what happened to Charlie Kirk, what his loved ones had to go through after he was assassinated, last month. They never showed any form of empathy. They just said, oh, it should have never happened to them, but there's always a but when it comes to these actors, and then they just drag in their political agenda. That's how it rolls, and that's how it's always going to go when it comes to these people like Robert De Niro, for example. And I think it's going to be quite interesting to see how unhinged he will be on October 18th, when he actually is one of the leaders, or one of those actually putting together this No Kings protest on October 18th, and how he's really calling for a lot of people to join him on that day to call out President Trump. That's basically what he's trying to do right now. And so he continues to conclude, "He truly is a effing lunatic who is dividing our country, and we all need to keep calling it out." And again, there's Robert De Niro, dropping F-bombs about President Trump, saying this, saying that, dragging Charlie Kirk supporters into the middle of his poor argument. We all know that Robert De Niro should really just stay in his lane. He's an actor. He's not a politician. He's not a political commentator or anything close to that. And that's exactly why people are walking away. There are so many people that can't even watch his films anymore because of this. Overall, I would like to hear what everyone has to say about this below in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. And I will catch you guys later.